what's up everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel where we talk about the power raid, air raid, and football coaching. And today we're going to do a Q&A session from questions that I've gotten on Twitter or X, and just going to talk life and talk ball. So the first question that we will be answering will be talking about advice of being a play caller. So it says, what advice would you give if I wanted to grow from being a QB coach to somebody that wants to be a play caller when my chance comes? The biggest thing I would say is find a system that fits you, or that you have ran, or that you have good knowledge of. Once you have that system, then you need to make sure that you know the ins and outs of it. Whether, how many run plays, how many pass plays, screens, the different formations. And obviously each system is different. So if you got the wing tee, you got unbalanced sets, and you don't have as many of the different formations. But for me, the advice that I'll give from my personal experience is I found the power raid very useful for the situation or the teams or the programs where I was at. And then the next one was I learned through the past couple of years is to keep it simple. Don't have a huge dictionary of plays. Make sure that you have a system and your if-then. So I learned is to keep it simple for your athletes. So I keep it with 4 run games, 4 schemes, 4 drop back, 4 quick game, 4 screens, and we use a ton of formations in ways to get our athletes in space, which is just, so that's the advice is find a system that you either have knowledge of, that you can gain knowledge, continue to study, and understand it, have an if-then for putting your system together. And the big one is know your weaknesses, know your strengths of your program. Try to limit your weaknesses and find ways to play off your strengths. So that is my advice when it comes to getting a chance to be a play caller. Next question, all right, has to do with when you're interviewing for a head coaching job. So the question was, what all do you take to your interview? So for me, I always send ahead of time. I send my resume, my references, my letter of interest, and then I always send out my PowerPoint, which is also kind of a play on what my coaching philosophy is. It has a 30, 60, 90-day plan, and then depending on what your teaching job is, so mine was going to be weight training. I did a 1-day lesson plan of what we would do, and then I also had our weight training program that we would also implement, and so that's something that will also be coming up later on the questions. And then I also take our program guide or a program handbook for everybody in the program, a coach's handbook, an example of a year-long calendar, what it would look like, and then like I said, the PowerPoint, I always will print that off because I feel like there's a lot of things in there that will help. And some advice, especially in North Carolina, if it's the first round of interviews, if they're going to do multiple rounds, that first round you'll probably get 10 to 12 questions, and I'm telling you right now, 2 of them will be about football, about schematics, and then I'm telling you one of them is going to be please explain what you would be doing on a Tuesday practice in the middle of the season. Okay, they want to see your organizational skills, they want to see you think on your feet, and just see how you can handle any type of a question. The rest of them are going to be about teaching, and it's going to be about how you can help the school. And here's the big advice for an interview. Make sure that you research the job in the school where you're going. Know the mission statement, know the vision, know the successes and the downfalls of the school and the athletic program, and then obviously the football program. Make sure that you know it in and out, because that will show that you went above and beyond with trying to get that job, and that you're not just winging it. It is very good if you last longer than the scheduled time, but it's also even big time is if they start showing you around. So that's my big one. When you're going for an interview, is have everything that you possibly can to showcase that you're a coach. Your coaching portfolio, your resume, your 30, 60, 90-day plan, whether that's on a PowerPoint. Make sure you have your coach's handbook, an example of what a lesson plan would look like, what you would do for weight training, fundraising, anything and everything you could possibly have. Show that and bring it. because it'll show that you're ready. And then, like I said, make sure that you do your research on the job. Hey coach, hope you are well. Saw that you are a weight training teacher. Can you explain what your off-season program looks like? So, yes, I'm a weight training teacher. I was actually in Wisconsin and was a strength coach. So our strength program comes from when Scott Frost was down at Central Florida, and the whole purpose of the program that we do is he was finding out, okay, we're not going to get 3 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars, but we want to make sure that we can compete with everybody. So they brought in a strength trainer to assess all of everything, and what their biggest one is, we want to make athletes. We want to make explosive athletes. We want it to be safe, and we wanted to be able to make them be able to move. And it's also kind of set up individualized. So we use a 10-week program, and we do use percentages. Every day we're going to do a clean variation. What we do is we go upper body, lower body splits. Our big lifts, our power clean bench, squat, hang clean. And then, so with that is we want to make sure that we are creating athletes in our football program that can run fast, that are quick, that are explosive, and that are powerful. So once again, the advice that kind of goes along with when I asked about or talked about play calling in your system is you got to know your program strengths and weaknesses. And then, so that's kind of what for me has always been. I wanted to make sure that we were powerful. We want to make sure that we were creating good athletes, very strong and powerful, and that they kind of individualize plan by using their percentages off their max. And we do it in probably about, we kind of do it in quarters of the whole year. So we kind of, we get some time off, but we do, 10-week splits. And I say we do upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body. And we really focus on very good cleans, good squat, to have good explosive movements. So what makes the Powerade different than the air raid? So the question was, hey coach, how's it going? I was wondering if you wouldn't mind explaining the difference between the Powerade and the air raid. Thanks for any help. So the difference between the air raid and the Powerade is pretty much the principle of still throwing the ball around, but it is using downhill run principles to help complement the passing game. So I am looking to spread you out to pass the ball, but when I have a chance and opportunity to, we're gonna run. So one thing with us, like we had 2,900 yards passing and 2,000 yards rushing, and so but then when it comes down to the amount that we called, we were like, I think 55-45 when it came to pass to run. And so that's kind of the difference with the Powerade and then the air raid is most air raids are probably between 60 and 70% pass. And so with us is, we incorporate a lot more of a run game, and we keep it simple on both of them. And neither are very expensive, and that's why we try to keep it simple. But another big one is the fact that we use an H-back, or what people call a tight end. I like to call it as our H-back. We use him pretty much every down. And we move him around, whether it's, using a sniffer, using him as a wing, put him in the backfield and then splitting him out. And that's one thing that you don't see as much in the air raid is, they always did have 2 backs in a lot of their formations, but they didn't use a lot of hand in the dirt, wing or sniffer. And so that's where we incorporate another different variation of how the Powerade is compared to the air raid. So we use a lot more run game, and we use kind of a sniffer H-back and different personnel instead of, empty and 10 personnel. And then sometimes they go into 20 personnel with the 2 backs. You'll see a lot of the same when it comes to the quick game, a stick, snag. You'll have, you use smash, or you'll shallow cross, or you do mesh, you do sail, you do wide cross, and then you have your quick screens, you have your tunnel screens. And so that's kind of going to the next question is, I was asked, am I more Mike Leach or Lincoln Riley? So it was, would you say you're more Leach oriented or more Lincoln Riley? So for me, that's where I love Mike Leach. Like, I just love his creativity. He's the pirate for a reason. And so that's where I get all the crazy formations, and trying to find the best ways to get my athletes out in space and play a numbers game. And then also keeping it simple, and this is how we run certain things. We'll run it out of this formation. So I love Mike Leach. But then when it came to the Powerade, that's where, the Phil Longo and the Riley brothers, is kind of that power rate shift. And so that's where the run game with GT counter, not just inside zone, but then also we use power, one back power, and buck sweep is just trying to find a way to complement the pass game with our run game and not just doing it with inside zone and GT counter. And then one thing is that they would also use the draw and shovel. And so that was kind of their way of doing ISO. So that's how we kind of switched into the power raid. So I am straight love Mike Leach and Hal Mummy in the air raid, but then it kind of moved into the power raid with the Riley brothers and Phil Long because of watching their style of football. What's your favorite RPOs? So my favorite RPO right now is definitely stick. I just love stick in general, and then I love the arrow RPO because the tight end flat, H-back flat, because we have a really explosive guy there right now, and it's just one of those reads that when that quarterback puts the ball into the running back's belly, that defense sometimes overcorrects, and you can use the arrow to the strong side of the formation, to the weak side, to the boundary. You can do it wherever, and it's a 1 to 2 yard throw, and it can become, we had a couple times where it's a 60, 70 yard play just because of you're taking what the defense is giving you, and you're trying to put a strain on them. And then next thing you know, they're worried about they put 2 out there on him, and the quarterback can pull and run, or obviously hand it off. So that's arrow is one of my favorites, but then stick is great because it's kind of a pre-snap one, where if you see that you have leverage with that stick, with that hitch right there, compared to the alley defender, and you're putting stress on them, it's a nice quick little throw, and it kind of gets you out of some hairy situations if they were putting too many in the box. And then I showed an example on how we use stick also is if they're putting press or they're going hard cover 2, you can throw that hole shot ball or that fade out there as well if you have a guy that can win. And then another one that we've had a lot of success with, and I love it, it's not really an RPO, but it's a pre-snap kind of gift, is we love to stack the receivers, and we'll run smoke out there off of all of our play side and backside runs. It's a nice way, once again, that comes from that tendency of spread you out and see how you're going to handle those receivers and getting them out in space, and if you can get a good block. So those are my favorite RPOs, but I would definitely say the arrow right now is my favorite one. I studied a lot up when Josh Heupel was down at UCF, and they were using it off of Dart, and so the arrow is definitely my favorite RPO right now. The straight up question was favorite play to run. So I'm going to kind of go 2 parts. My overall favorite play to call is mesh, because it can win and beat any type of coverage, and I think it really confuses defenses. And when it comes to it, is if teams don't see that every week, coaches have to spend so much time on mesh and how to handle the crossers, and they kind of forget about the fact that there's a running back coming out, and you have 2 outsides doing something. And once they, if they do try to figure out what you're doing, there's a bunch of different variations off of that. And at the end of the day, it's teenagers on that field, they're going to have to communicate and be able to handle that rub, which is not easy. Like I said, if you're not seeing it every week, it's kind of like when you're seeing the wing tee or the flex bone, is something you don't see every week. And then the fact that we can run out a bunch of different formations. So I absolutely love mesh. And my favorite run play is one that I studied all last offseason about, and reached out to Coach Chip Siegel, spent some resources when it came to Kenny Simpson, and I focus on buck sweep. I love buck sweep, and there's some things I'm trying to work on this year to get even better at it and how to protect it even more. But it was a super explosive play for us, and so those are my favorite plays, is buck sweep and mesh. What coaches I would recommend for if you're a wing tee or a power spread. So if it's wing tee, it's super simple. And kind of the spread wing tee is Kenny Simpson. His YouTube channel, his podcast, his resources, just everything he does. First of all, it's first class. It's worth it. That's usually my morning drive to work out. I'm listening to him and Daniel Chamberlain's Coaching 101 podcast. Just amazing everything that he does for coaches and just the knowledge that he can share. That would be my guy. Another one is Chip Siegel. You can get him on YouTube. He's amazing too because he's changed the offenses so much, but he still has all those wing tee principles. And then when it kind of comes to the power spread, that's where I'm going to give the spread offense, Alex Besaw. He does a great job with it. And then obviously Ron Mackey. Those are amazing coaches. They not only do they have a YouTube channel, they're willing to help out, but the best part is they have resources, and they're not just going to dial something up, draw it up, and then not show you how to use it. And like I said, there's clinics and resources that you can get in. And if I'm forgetting anybody, I apologize to it, but those are the wing tee power spread guys that I would definitely recommend for people to look at YouTube or any of their resources. Also, the next part was, what about air raid? Well, that would be Coach Salas, Joe Salas here in North Carolina, Drew Piscopo here in North Carolina, George Colthorpe. So those are three. And then obviously Ron Mackey again those are guys that here in North Carolina we have some good air raid guys, and that's ones that I've obviously gotten into. And then also on X, Pace and Space, man, that man, he shows all kinds of stuff with the air raid, and obviously just playing out and spread and getting people out in space. Those are the things to study and guys to listen to on YouTube, and you can always reach out if you're wanting to know any more. My favorite ones to kind of talk about, and I'm also going to demonstrate and give some examples of it, is how to set up a call sheet. So the question is, young QB coach wanting to grow, I was wondering how you organize your play call sheet. So how we organize a play call sheet, and you're always going to mess with it, just so everybody knows. It doesn't matter. Every year you're going to kind of change it up based on how you are starting to adapt, how you're starting to grow as a coach. So what I like to do is I start with a first 10. And sometimes I'll script even more, but I always start out with a first 10 of wanting to see different things with the defense can do with formations or motions, and I'll have it going right or left. So that's the first column. And then I'll have a notes page right next to that, so that my guys that are up in the box can be paying attention and taking notes, and I also can when I'm reviewing the iPad afterwards. And so then after that is I have all of our plays that we run, or our concepts that we run, and I have about 7 to 10 slots. And what I'll do is I'll have different formations and how we saw either what they do or what we feel comfortable running with different formations. I'll have 7 to 10 slots for each one of our run game, our pass game, so that it's nice and scripted, and we'll practice that out. And so that's how we'll do that. And then I also will I have it for situationals, where I have us with second and short, and then I do third and short, so that's like third and less. I do third and 0 to 2, and then I do third medium from 3 to 7, and I do third and long for anything 8+. And then we get into our red zone. We'll do a red zone pass, we do a red zone run, and then I'll get into our shot plays. I'll have 3 to 4 shot plays ready to go. I'll have a heavy package, 3 to 4 plays that we want to run. And under each one of those other categories, red zone, run, and pass, I have about 8 to 10 for each one of those. And then with the situationals, you really need to study how many times you average that per game. But I like to have 3 to 5 for each one of those third down situations. Then since we do a lot of different crazy formations, I want to make sure that we practice that, and what we practice is what we'll do in a game. And so I'll have a list of the different formations that we want to run that game, and then we'll have the plays that we have installed, kind of a package off of that. We'll have a QB run game category. So yeah, that's how we organize it. Is we do our opening script. We do each play has their own different categories. We have our red zone. We have our third and short, fourth and short, all those medium, long. We have all those situations and out planned out. Then we have all of our stuff out empty, different formations. We have our QB run game. We have our heavy package, all that stuff that we need in order to be successful when you're game planning, you want to have everything ready to go. And I will never call anything in a game that we didn't practice. And so that kind of gets into how we set it up is, so for Monday we run inside zone, stick, and cross. Tuesday we'll do power counter with sail and snag. Wednesday is buck sweep, mesh, shallow cross, and then we'll always work on 4 verts every day, and then we also throw in our smash, and then screens all the time. So what we'll do is once that sheet is organized, we'll go through and call what we're boom, 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 what we want to, what we saw or what we want to call in the game, or just this is how we run it no matter what. We'll call that, go off the sheet, and boom, that's what we're doing Monday is those certain plays, Tuesday those certain plays, and then we always practice our first 10 3 to 4 times a day. And then Thursday is our walkthrough, which we'll practice through that again. And so that's kind of how we organize our call sheet, and I'll even show that even more. I think that's something that I really love, that how we do things, and would love to share that. Our last question, all right, is about grading film for a game. So the question is, another question for you, Coach, do you have a grading system in place for your offense? I just want to implement one so that we have so that we can put the best people on the field at all times. So for ours, it's super easy. All right, quarterbacks, running backs, the O-line, and then receivers all have their coaches will do that. So I'll take care of the quarterbacks and the running backs. I have an O-line coach takes care of O-line, running backs coach takes care of running backs, and we keep it super simple. It's plus or minus. All right, and then what do we do plus and minus? So we'll plus and minus on alignment, on execution, and hustle. All right, so you can have 3 negatives, you can have 3 positives, or you can have a mix of that, and we'll just boom, add up how many positives out of that, how many negatives, give a score out of how many plays. For us, we're at a smaller school, and our kind of cream of the crop, we're pretty, we do have some battles, but that's how we'll grade them. And then we'll also put down certain plays that we got to take a look at for lowlights and for highlights to kind of say, hey, so-and-so did great here. All right, and what we always say when we're grading and when we're doing film is it's never an attack on a person. It is we're going to watch what that person on film did for everybody to get better so that we don't make that mistake again. And we make it very clear that, hey, we're going to coach you up, but we're also then going to teach you how to get better, how could it have been better, because we really want to focus on that and just not on the negative. And then the highlights is we love to show our guys, like, hey, this is what we can do, this is what we can accomplish, and let's keep that momentum going. So it's one of those things of you got to be able to show what we struggled at, how we can get better for some teaching tip, but then it's also good for having the highlights to celebrate your guys' successes and what looked good, and especially like in a loss, having some highlights to say, hey, we can do this, and now if we do this every time, look how high powered we can be. So that's kind of where we are with that. But hey, I want to thank everybody so far that has liked, that has given me any comments, feedback, that has subscribed, that have shared my YouTube channel. I am doing this because I love talking football. I love being a football coach. It's kind of a happy place, a sanctuary for me, and I just want to share a positive community here on this YouTube channel, and also about the power raid, because there's all kinds of stuff out there about the air raid, and in spread power spread offense, but not really anything out there with the power raid. And I want to give a shout out Coach Garrett Wingate. He's out at Aiden Grifton. He's been having so much success with this as well, and he was out there at ECU learning from Lincoln Riley and all that. I'm going to straight up tell you I'm not a know-it-all, but I am going to always give people's props and people that I look up to, that I obviously have learned from, and and that's just kind of where my YouTube channel is just about the power raid, about air raid, about the offense, and then coaching in general. And so if you ever have any questions, please hit me up on X. You can message on YouTube. I want to help out as many coaches and give back as much as I possibly can, because I've had so many people feed into me. Because everybody says that when you're young you think you have all the answers. Man, I didn't know anything. But I really started studying and wanted to become a coach. And you go to clinics. I get Glazier clinics. I'm on YouTube. I have X&O clinics, XO labs. I'm always trying to find a way to learn more. Reaching out to other coaches. Don't be afraid to do that, because I'm telling you, all these coaches, you have very few egotistical or prideful coaches. They want to help out because they're the same way. So that's kind of my spiel on that, and I just want to say thank you for watching this. Please share it with people. Hit me up. Help me with trying to get some more subscribers to help grow the information, the power raid, and just thanks for giving me the opportunity to kind of speak about who I am. So once again, Coach Mitch Johnson at Northwood High School. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy this video.